Get over here.
Hello everyone and welcome to Action RPG Build Guide Edition. Today I'm ready to drop on you my new Steel Grasp Rend Barbarian. This is an endgame build guide and so much fun to play. My community likes to call it my hooker build because we're hooking enemies and pulling them in. You understand. As always, I will cover every single facet of this build. Everything is timestamped in the description below if you need to bounce around. Let's not waste any time and jump right into this. Starting off with some gameplay. Now the skills I'm using for this hooker build are Steel Grasp, Rend, Triple Shout, and Flay. And this build really is a lot of fun. Obviously, the most fun is using Steel Grasp and throwing out your chains and then telling the enemies to get over here. That's what I say in my head. Let me see if I can pull a bunch of them together. We can do better than that. There we go. Look at that group. And then obviously you hit them with Rend, which is going to apply a ton of bleeding, and then they all just die. We are in a spider dungeon, so there's a lot of enemies here. And at time of recording, this barb is level 81. And these enemies, this is a Nightmare Dungeon 38. So they are 11 levels higher than us. These enemies are 92, and we are only level 81. You can see that we kill everything pretty much with ease. And this build is going to be able to push so much farther than this. Got a couple extra ideas to make it a lot better. Just need to test a new unique that's probably going to be best in slot. Just haven't found it yet, and I will cover that during the gear section. But all in all, it is a blast to play, very straightforward, and it's honestly only going to get better, especially with the barb buffs that are coming on August 8th. I think it's August 8th, right? Okay, you get it. Pull them all in, bleed them, and everything dies. Let's fight a boss. Same dungeon, level 92 spider boss. You'll see on the right, we have not died. 4 revives remaining. Let's put some poison stacks and use our chains. Kill this spider. Get him. Get him. See how you use positioning to make sure you grab all of them? And dead. Not too bad. Level 92 at 81. I like it. Let me show you how to recreate this build. So now let's check out the skill tree for this hooker, starting with our generator. And like I said, we are using Flay, and on here we're using Battle Flay, which is really interesting. When Flay deals direct damage to an enemy, they take 10% increased bleeding damage. This is great for any dot build. Under our core skill, we are using Rend, where you want to put 5 points into, and 1 point into Violent Rend, which you're going to deal more damage to vulnerable enemies. We then have 3 points into Endless Fury. This really does help keep your Fury up so you can use Rend and all your stuff more often. And we're always going to be using a two-handed weapon. As we go down, like I said, this is a triple shout build, so you want Rallying Cry and Challenging Shout. But on here, you want 1 into Tactical Rallying Cry for the Fury. We have 1 point in Opposing Presence, 1 into Vigor, which is going to be reduced damage reduction against elites. Come down here, 1 into War Cry, and you want to take Mighty War Cry for the Fortify. Since we're triple shout, you want to put 3 in all of your shout passive nodes. Okay. Come down here, 1 into Aggressive Resistance, 3 into Fury. This is going to be your while berserking, Fury generation is increased, and you will be berserking quite often. We have 3 into Swiftness so that you can move around quicker. You would notice that I'm a pretty fast barbarian. As you come down, you want 3 into Pit Fighter, 3 into No Mercy, 1 into Hamstring, and 3 into Cut of the Bone. We are bleeding. Your bleeding effects deal 15% increased damage to vulnerable targets. Now for our hooker, you want 1 into Steel Grasp and 1 into Fighter Steel Grasp, which is going to help maintain your berserking. Now on here, Aaron, Steel Grasp was one of the main skills. Why don't you have more points into it? You're going to get plus the Steel Grasp through your items and plus the Steel Grasp on a unique. And putting the extra 4 points in here doesn't even help your cooldown by half a second. So save those points. Don't worry, you're going to have plenty of points into Steel Grasp. You want 1 into Thick Skin, 3 into Counteroffensive. Come down here, nothing in Ultimate. Yes, you are looking at this correctly. Nothing in our ultimate. And then last but not least, for our key passive, we want gushing wounds. Again, this is a bleeding build. Those are the skills. Now let's talk specialization. Now, 95% of barbarians normally use two-handed axe. Increase damage to vulnerable enemies, but you are going to be using a two-handed axe the whole time, so you are already going to get this. So when it comes to your specialization or your technique, you actually want to take two-handed sword. You heard me right, two-handed sword. 20% direct damage you deal is inflicted as bleeding damage over 5 seconds. I am sure you have caught the theme of this build. We are going to be bleeding dot damage the entire time. Make sure you take two-handed sword. Moving over to the Paragon boards, and we have a lot of them. This hooker likes Paragons, and we have 7 different boards. Now, before we get into them, quick little plug. Second link in the description is the Icy Veins written guide. It normally comes out 1 to 2 days after the YouTube video, and it is a 4,000 word breakdown that'll go into more detail on the Paragon boards. On Icy Veins, we have 9 other build guides as well. If you are looking for something different, check it out. Second link in the description. Okay, so starting board, we are using Territorial, but if you are leveling, you want to use Exploit. Okay, this is end-to-end game. So this is good here, but if you are leveling, use Exploit. All right. Board 1. Moving on to board number 2. I'm trying to get it at an angle where it is easy to screenshot. And this is our Decimator. And for here, the second glyph we are using is Martial. Okay. Now we are moving over to board number 3. This is Carnage. And the glyph we are using is Might. Board number 3. Now we are moving over to our 4th board. Like, which one is it? Right here. Okay. This is Hemor. And we are using Undaunted. Got it? I'm going to give you enough time. Now we're moving up here to board number 5. This is Weapons Master. We're using Bowel. Disembowel. Now we're moving to the left. Board number 6. This is Bone Breaker. And we are using Exploit. Put it in the first board if you're leveling. And last but not least, here we go. Board number 7, Warbringer. And we have Wrath. Those are the Paragon boards. Moving over to everyone's favorite gear, starting with gems and hearts. Now for our weapon, we want to use emeralds, of course, critical strike damage to vulnerable enemies. But for the armor, we want to use rubies. Now, yes, you can use sapphires if you want. In testing, rubies actually gave us more survivability, so we like rubies better. That being said, you can still use sapphires. I just happen to like rubies. For your hearts, you want Creeping Death. This is unequivocally best in slot. Your damage over time effects are increased. Amazing heart for this build. For our ring, we want Revenge, which is going to give you some damage suppression and a large explosion of fire. For our second ring, we want Dark Dance. And to be clear, this really is a dark dance. Every 5 seconds while above 60% life, core skills cost X life instead of primary resource. Skills that consume life deal increased damage. So the idea behind this is you're doing more damage and you can cast more core skills, which means technically enemies are dying faster, which in turn keeps you alive even though you are spending life. Takes a little time to get used to. Okay, let's go through each aspect and item one by one. For our helm, we are using Weapon Master. Chest, Aspect of Might. Gloves, Relentless Berserker. Pantalones, we are using Aspect of Numbing Wrath. For our boots, we are using a unique Pennant Greaves. And what this is going to do is you leave behind a trail of frost and chills enemies. You deal more damage to chilled enemies. Again, this really helps with Creeping Death. For our bludgeoning weapon, we want Aspect of Limitless Rage. Dual wield 1, Edge Master's aspect. Amulet, accelerated aspect. Aspect of Echoing Fury in Ring 1. This is a shout build. Ring 2, whenever you cast shout, cooldown. Blood Chieftain's aspect. For slashing weapon, this is a weapon we're going to be using all the time. This is Ancient's Oath, and this is Steel Grasp, launches 2 additional chains. Now, for our dual wielding weapon number 2, okay? Right now I'm using Rapid Aspect, which basic skill increase attack speed, but best in slot is most likely the new Wrath Sword, okay? But I have not found this yet, so I haven't been able to test it, but I'm like 99% sure this is going to greatly increase this build. So it's really going to end up like this, but I don't want to put it in there quite yet because I haven't tested it yet. All right. Now, when you are looking at specific affixes, all right, I'm going to go through these right now. But again, go over to Icy Veins that has everything written and listed out. It is a lot neater. Okay. So gear slots for your helmet, cooldown reduction. This is where we're going to get ranks to Steel Grasp. Chest armor, damage reduction, life. Gloves, crit chance, attack speed, ranks to Rend. Pants, quad, damage reduction. Boots, movement speed, damage reduction, fury cost reduction. Amulet, cooldown, ranks of cut to the bone. Movement speed, damage reduction while injured. Rings, they're the exact same. Vulnerability damage, crit strike chance, critical strike damage, resource generation. Same with ring 2. Bludgeoning weapon, vulnerable damage, crit strike damage, strength damage to close enemies. Same thing on the other weapons. The reason why the slashing weapon and the dual wield weapon 2 have no stats is because we use uniques. So those are the affixes. Again, go check out Icy Veins. All right, everyone, that's the build guide. What do you think of my Steel Grasp Rend build? Is there something I missed? Is there something I could do to make this hooker even better? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. 2 asks at the end of the video. Ask number 1, I'm hoping today's the day I have earned your subscription. Hoping today is the day you make the decision to push that little red button. I would really appreciate it, but of course, only if you think I deserve it. Ask number 2, check out my Patreon. Thank you to the first 85 members that have signed up. Become an instant ARPG VIP and get Patreon exclusive content at the first link in the description. I get asked all the time, Aaron, what is the best way to support? And Patreon is truly it, and you get the most benefits. So that's all I've got. Hopefully you were entertained or at least learned something. Aaron, out.